Spread the fire and welcome back to Smwx. So good to have you. Can you believe we're already into our second month? It's our second Q&A, 10,000 subscribers strong. And that's all down to you. We've had no advertising, nothing. It's just literally been viral spreading. So thank you to all of you, not only for subscribing to this channel, but sharing it with your family and friends. I know you've been sharing it into your family WhatsApp groups. Has your aunt shared it into your family WhatsApp group? Tell us, reply. Give me some stories about WhatsApp groups. It's been incredible so far, and I want to get straight to your questions. If you're just joining us on this channel, from time to time, we take questions straight on the WhatsApp channel and just respond to our subscribers. And on the channel, there'll be bonus content where we reply to more of your questions. So let's get into it. Takalani says, please, can you give me a shout out? Takalani, shout out to you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being one of the first 10,000 to believe in the first month. We're dedicating Q&A number 2 to Takalani. Another user who wishes to remain anonymous says, we know Jesus is here for Easter. Will he come again on the 8th of May? You guys are jajarach on this channel sometimes. Hey, like the kinds of things you send to us have our team in stitches. But on a serious note, let's see what happens. I think nationally we can kind of see where the picture is going. I suspect that the ANC majority will be retained. But I think in different provinces, I really want to see what happens in Gauteng. There, it's anyone's game, I think. Western Cape should be interesting. I want to see what happens in Northwest. So believe me, I think 8th May is the election on the Wednesday. And the IEC say counting is going to take a while. So probably by that Sunday, we'll have a few surprises. There's always a few surprises in our country and in our election. So the next question is, do you think SA's trend of service delivery protests is going to result in an Arab Spring-like moment? And that question is from Fezile. Fezile, thanks for the question, and I think it's a really interesting one. One of the things that I'm always amazed at is how South Africa defies political gravity. Like, you would think with a society as unequal as ours, as grotesquely contorted in terms of inequality, poverty, and unemployment, we actually would have already had our Arab Spring moment. So I think these protests are quite dangerous. There's been some talk that there's ANC motivation. There's been a lot of political bickering between the DA and the ANC. But I think when you actually look at where these protests have happened, it's true that many of them have happened in DA municipalities. But when we started seeing protests in places like Groenstad, for example, that actually turned quite violent. I think there was a post office burnt there, and a number of trucks burnt as well. And also the fact that some of these protests that are happening in different pockets of our country, especially in townships, are actually claiming lives. So 2 people in the Western Cape, and there hasn't been a lot of media coverage of the fact that at least that community said that it was actually the police that were responsible for those 2 deaths. So, you know, we're a country that's always in protest, so it's hard to predict that the moment at which those protests could flare up. But if we don't resolve the fundamental crises like the sheer inequality, crises in education and healthcare, and just people's living conditions across a whole range of issues, then at some point, someday, I really do think that we are going to have some kind of serious reckoning. But it seems like the window is still open at the moment. So that's my view on that one, Fezile. And then we had an anonymous user who wanted to ask, is spoiling one's ballot an option or a cop-out? You know, I take a fairly controversial view on this one because I was at some election panel a few weeks ago, and I was like, spoiling your ballot is a legitimate act, I think. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to vote. But I would prefer people to participate in the process and register their dissatisfaction with the process by spoiling their ballot rather than just staying at home and doing nothing, because that has implications for turnout and doesn't actually register your dissatisfaction. So for me, I would say if there's someone that really appeals to you on the ballot, that speaks to your issues and that's going to take society in a direction, cool, then you know. If you're uncertain, then I would still, at least for me, I think you go for, okay, what's the least worst option in my view? What's the one that maybe doesn't speak to me, but that doesn't speak against me completely? And then, if you really think out of all the 48 options that you have that nobody's speaking to you and you want to send your dissatisfaction with the system, then I think spoiling a ballot is a legitimate way of doing that. I'm not saying I advocate it, but I don't think it's an illegitimate act, and I think it certainly has some merit, especially for people who think that, young people who think that the political system doesn't appeal to them. So it's not what I'm going to be doing, but I wouldn't look down on you if you said you spoiled your ballot. It's a way of participating in this election, and I think that's perfectly cool. So there were a number of subscribers who asked us about gender, who asked us about the representation of women, and one of our subscribers also said that even though this is an election, we should make sure that we focus on people who aren't eligible to vote, especially people who aren't eligible to vote because of the age requirements. So let's deal with the question of gender, because I don't like how it sometimes gets lumped in with the question of generation. Certainly, this is part of the reason why we've been really strict on our guests and making sure that representation in terms of the political voices, the political analysts, and the people who are on this channel, and also as this channel grows and becomes more about many different voices, that's something that really matters to us. And we're always also interested in your feedback in terms of how we can be held to account on that, because representation is crucial, not just on this channel, but I think in South African society. And also, you'll see in our next interview with the ATM, the African Transformation Movement, that was one of the questions that I put to the president as well. And so in our questioning, in addition to representation on the channel, we'll make sure that we're always highlighting and focusing on that question, because I fully agree with some of the subscribers on the back end of the channel as well who've been saying like 55% of the electorate are people gendered as women, and their voices have not been adequately represented if you look at party leaders and even manifestos. Questions of the tremendous destructive force of sexual violence in our country have actually not reached the level of the agenda that they should have. And so we're going to keep making sure that as far as we can, we keep pushing those issues. And thank you very much for that feedback. We take it very seriously. Then in terms of the question that came through about the role of people who are ineligible to vote, you know, I actually think it's pretty interesting. I think that the voting age should be reduced. I literally don't think, especially in a time where young people are able to access and use technology in a way far superior to their elders, I'm not sure that this whole argument that maturity and age brings wisdom actually makes sense in this era that we're in. And I don't see why, like 16, for example, that there's a huge debate going on globally about the voting age right now, but I don't see why 18 should necessarily be the cutoff limit. And I would actually be in favor, I think, of widening the number of young people who participate in our elections. Because we say, why don't young people participate? We say, hey, why aren't young people registering? But we actually exclude many of them by law from actually participating. And I don't really think there's much merit in the old arguments that I think are based in an older form of democracy, which limit voting. But tell me what you think. If you're watching this video, comment below, send us your comments on WhatsApp. What do you think of lowering the voting age in South Africa? Do you think that would be a good thing or not? It'd be really interesting to hear what you have to say. Now, another one of our users asked, what are you doing to empower the voices of township and rural youth in South Africa? And I think that's an important question. So I think firstly, many of the guests that we have interviewed come from backgrounds that might be different to, say, the one that I grew up in. And I think that's important. But remember that this is the first phase of this channel. And if we do really great things in this election, then after 8th May, we're going to have to sit back and start thinking, like, how do we together, all of us, our 10,000 growing users, all the people on this channel, all this community, family, movement in a way, how do we grow it out and how do we make sure that we're reaching as many people as possible? And that's exactly why we put this on WhatsApp. Because if we put it on TV or some pay TV platform, or if you had to pay to get it, then it would be different. But literally everyone can access WhatsApp. And that's why accessibility is so important to us on the one hand. And then on the other, I really believe a platform like this can happen in multiple languages. And so it's all well and good, you know, trying to pretend like you can relate to everyone in South Africa. There may be other ways and other people who are better at relating to lots of different forms of South African life. I don't represent every young South African, nor do I pretend to. And so I think as we build this channel out and as we multiply it in multiple languages, we'll also have an opportunity to reach a wider array of especially young voices in our country. So we're taking it seriously in our guests. I think just in terms of the strategy of the channel as well, we need to build and grow early. And so we want guests with a big platform so that they can also, you know, share this channel and so that we can build a platform that's taken seriously. But speaking to ordinary members of South Africa, speaking to people who don't get a voice and who aren't given a platform is a crucial part of our overall strategy. And we'll certainly be making sure that we push that through. So thanks a lot for that feedback. We hear you on that and we're taking it seriously, and hope you see as this channel unfolds how exactly we can include as many voices as possible as we do this. So, you know, there are many questions that have come through. Thank you so much. Obviously, we also respond to you directly on WhatsApp, so keep interacting, keep coming with your comments. We've tried to have a diverse view of some more critical questions and some other interesting questions coming through from you guys. Thank you all so much for just being a part of this moment and very much this movement. It is really quite spectacular to just see how this has exploded, and it's really exciting. And we've just got to think collectively as this family that has come together on WhatsApp, that is not on a family WhatsApp group, but is a family WhatsApp channel in many ways. We've got to think about how we take this momentum that we've built and go from strength to strength. And I really think that something quite special could come out of this. It's blown away our team's expectations already, and it's going to be fun to see what happens. So especially in the week leading up to the election, we'll probably do, you know, some more Q&As in that period, but look out for what we do, because we want that week leading up to the election and when the results are coming in to be a really special time on this channel where we push the boundaries and it becomes the place that you want to go. When all this election stuff is happening, the one place you can always go is on WhatsApp, on your phone. Keep getting updated, results, what's happening, new interviews, new perspectives, different perspectives, all in one place. So can't wait for election week and the fallout that's to come. And thank you all so much for being a part of this. Spread the fire. Ayeye. Smwx. No young people are around the decision-making table. Let some new voices come to the fore. Follow us on WhatsApp and catch us live Tuesdays and Thursdays. Out with the old, in with the new. Smwx.